Man, college football, which drives college sports as we know it, has again turned college athletics upside down, just literally on its head. NIL, transfer portal, and as always, conference realignment. Man, it is a crazy time in college athletics right now. Today on Big B Sports Talk, we are going to break down the state of college football and how it has changed the landscape. A lot of people predicted this a few years back. A lot of people predicted it. Well, you know what? We're finally here. Let's get into this. Welcome again to Big B Sports Talk. Thank you guys for joining in. As always, please like, follow, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and more importantly, tell all your friends about Big B Sports Talk, man. We're trying to do some good things here. So let's just jump right into it. So the state of college football as a whole, I mean, it is absolutely insane, people. I mean, this conference realignment thing, it has everybody just spinning, buzzing. Now, look, a lot of people predicted this several years ago. A lot of people predicted this is where we were going to end up. You know, when you saw the handwriting on the wall, when you had the Nebraskas and A&M and Colorado, Missouri, you had those teams leave the Big 12. A lot of people then said, you know what, this is headed towards either three conferences. In my opinion, I think it's going to end up at two, which a lot of people do, and just super conferences. Regional doesn't matter. It's just going to be coast to coast, two conferences. Is that for the best? I don't know. I don't know if it is, but a lot of people thought that's where it was going to be. The one thing that I think we have to start, when you break it down, college athletics for a lot of years, basically forever, has been about the money. That's where I think people always go sideways with this. And when I say about the money, here's what I mean. The first thing, and we'll talk about it in this order, this conference realignment, it's everybody says it's hard on the student athletes. Look, I was a student athlete. If I had to fly across the country, and let's just say I played football, so it was a weekend thing. So it was easier, I'll admit, than the basketball player, the volleyball, the softball, the track person, baseball. It was easier. I 100% admit. But if I had to fly across the country on a Wednesday, play a game on a Thursday, fly back Thursday night, I mean, okay, I get it. It's difficult, but it's not impossible to get up the next day and go to class. I mean, that's not impossible. First off, let's just take it from a college kid's perspective. How many times as a college student did you stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning and then go to class? Okay, how often did that happen? So let's not kid ourselves about what's bad or what's so difficult on a college kid. And a lot of those times, if we stayed up till 4 o'clock in the morning, it wasn't because we were flying back on an airplane. Okay, I'm not going to say what we were doing, but let's just say if we're up till 4 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday, it wasn't just because we were flying back with our teammates. Okay, so let's not kid ourselves about what college students are capable of doing if they have to, if pushed, mentally and physically pushed. Should it have to be that way? Probably not, but it is that way. There's just some things in life that are going to be more difficult than others. This just happens to be one of them. Nobody's holding your feet to the fire and says that you have to participate in this either. Nobody's saying that. So I know there's a lot of people out there that are trying to give student athletes pity parties. Again, speaking as a former student athlete, no pity parties, zero pity parties. Okay. You chose to participate in this. Okay. And you are getting a free education. You are getting free room and board. Now, the importance of both of those are minuscule compared to what you're bringing to the table as a football or basketball player. I understand that. So I don't want you to think that I think that this free education is everything. That's not what I'm saying. But that's part of the package. That is 100% part of the package. So there are no pity parties. There's no pity parties for student athletes. They live a good life. It's tough. It's demanding. But, life is tough and demanding. And the earlier that you can figure that kind of stuff out, for me, I think the better off you'll be. So the better off you'll be. So let's look at conference realignment here. It's on its head. Pac 12 finished, completely done. We know it. I mean, unless you're going to invite basically the entire Mountain West, which there's talk of that. If you want to do that, great. Okay, fine. Then just change the name of Mountain West, just change it to Pac 12, and you're good to go. But as we know it and as we have known it, it is completely finished. ACC, there's talk of implosion. You know, if there's a will, there's a way. When lawyers are involved, everything's off the table. You know, I know there's this talk of this grant of rights and, you know, they got to pay $120 million and this and that, and it's out till 2036. I mean, you know, you get enough lawyers in a room, you can figure some things out. You can figure a few things out. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with the ACC? You know, a couple teams are wanting to get out, but, you know, with their whole grant of rights thing, everybody has to be on board. Even if one team says, nope, we don't want to do it, then the contract stays in place. But again, as I mentioned just a few seconds ago, you get a bunch of lawyers involved. We'll see how that holds up. I think at least for the next 3 or 4 years, I think the ACC is going to be in place. I think it's going to be fine. What I do think what eventually will happen is that the powers that be is going to renegotiate the ACC's contract. Unless ESPN just says, nope, we're not doing it. If you want to get out, here's where this team, you should go to this conference, this team. You probably should go over there. And if that happens, that happens. I personally think that for the next 3 or 4 years, it'll be fine. The Big 12, I think, kind of solidified itself. They got out ahead of the game. They did the exact opposite of what the Pac-12 did. Pac-12 was filled with arrogance, thinking that they were better than what they were. They should have known the handwriting was on the wall that the conference was falling apart when UCLA and USC left. I mean, you can say what you want about all the other schools within the conference. LA market was gone. And without an LA market, I'm sorry, there was no Pac-12. You should have done everything in your power to try to get other teams to come in. You didn't. And nobody wanted to give you a good television rights or television deal because, again, you didn't have an LA market. So it is what it is. So, but I think the Big 12 it has solidified itself. Not to mention, I know this goes as a side note, the Big 12 is clearly the best basketball conference in the country. Now, I know that football runs the whole thing. I get that football is, you know, the driver in all of this. But let's not kid ourselves. The Big 12 has the absolute best basketball conference in the country, and it's not a debate. It's not a debate. Don't talk to me about the Big 10. Don't talk to me about the ACC or especially the SEC. Don't talk to me about that. The Big 12 has the best basketball conference in the country. Number one, they've had it for several years. Let's just be honest. They've had it for several years. I know a lot of people around the country don't want to say that, but they have. And this solidifies it. You bring in who they brought in, come on. To add to what they already got, Jiminy Christmas. Best in the country. Best in the country. But conference realignment is just part of it. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. But it's just part of the equation, you know, on what we're talking about with the state of college football. You know, the next thing is the transfer portal. Look, the transfer portal got off to such this horrible start because of COVID. I mean, it's causing health problems or whatever. And again, this is not a political debate, so don't go there. But it caused problems in just everyday life now, in the college realm, because now you get these guys that get COVID years. And we've seen it several times where guys are playing 6, 7, sometimes 8 years of college football, basketball. I'm like, come on, man. What are we doing? What are we doing? And so it's very easy to fix the transfer portal. I don't know why everybody thinks it's such a horrible thing, because it isn't. If it's fixed, let me just back up. If they fix the transfer portal, it's a very easy thing, and it's a very a thing that everyone should want. They should want it because it works. And it's a very simple reason. I'll break it down. It's you get one transfer. You get to transfer once and you do not have to sit out. That can happen. It doesn't matter if it's a grad transfer, if you graduate. Doesn't matter if you graduate early. Doesn't matter if you transfer after your first semester. Whenever you choose to, you get one time to transfer free. Now, I know what a lot of people are going to say. Hey, once the COVID years get done, that's going to change that. Yeah, and it should. Or that's the actual rule. Well, okay, great. You get one transfer. If you decide to transfer again, you got to sit out. No more COVID years. All that's up. Okay, nobody gets any more COVID years. So you get to transfer once. Now, here's another thing. Look, it's competitive sports. Ligaments tear, bones break. It is what it is. So you have to be able to grant somebody a medical red shirt. But outside of that, you get 5 years to play 4. That's it. That's it, man. No more of the days of guys playing 10 years or gals, playing 10 years and all this other nonsense. That's it. You get 5 years. Like I said, you have to grant these medical red shirts because, like I said, in sports, bones break, ligaments tear. It's just part of it. You have to give them another opportunity. After that, no more opportunities. 5 years to play 4. And if you transfer, again, that counts. So if you, just for conversation's sake, if you start and you play 2 years at a school, you transfer in that spring, you get hurt, blow your knee out, whatever the case may be, you get a medical red shirt. We'll give you that extra year, but you still only got 2 years to play. No more of we got a medical red shirt and, he's transferring home to his mom because somebody got sick. It's not that people aren't sympathetic to that kind of stuff. Because anything can happen. Somebody's grandmother or their mother or their father catches cancer. We all want to be sympathetic to that. But you know what? Sometimes in life, we have to deal with life. And I don't think that we do that enough. I don't think there's enough dealing with life. If your parents get sick or somebody in your family gets sick and you want to be closer to home, you should 150 million% be able to do that. But you know what? I was taught this at a very young age. There are consequences to every action. Some are good, some are bad. And it doesn't matter the intent. Sometimes there's bad consequences for a good thing. Guess what? Life. Life is not fair. It's not fair. So whether you transfer and it's after you've already transferred once, somebody gets sick, hey, you got to transfer, you got to sit out. You got to sit out. That's just the way that it works, man. It's just the way that it works. I'm sorry. And it used to be that way. So it's not, don't look at me like I'm the devil. It used to be that way. There was no waivers. We got to get back to that. They let the transfer. The NCAA just threw its hands up. You got to get back to that. Got to get back. Now, that's the one part of all of this craziness. The other part is NIL. Now, look, I think that NIL is great. I wish it was around when I was playing. But here's the thing. It was around. It was around while I was playing, and that was in the late 90s. It was around before that. It was around way before that. You know what it was called? Cheating. It was cheating. Guys, gals, whoever was getting paid. That was happening. And yes, your school too. Your school too was cheating. Your school, my school, everybody's school. Everybody crossed the line. Everybody did. And so don't act like such a purist and think that your school wasn't doing anything illegal. Whether you got caught or not is a different conversation. Everybody did it. Whether somebody was getting paid a little, a lot, whatever. It happened. It happened. Everybody did it. Okay? Let's start there. Everybody did it. Now, here's the flip side. Now it's just legalized. It's legalized cheating. So everybody can do it. But even back in the old days when guys were getting paid, I know that a lot of people have brought up the nonsense of, well, guys in the locker room are going to be upset because some guys are getting paid a bunch of money and other guys aren't getting paid. Hey, newsflash, that happened a long time ago. Guys were getting paid back then when it was called cheating, and other guys weren't. You think there wasn't dissension then too? Of course there was. Again, life. Life. That happens. Okay? First of all, in a locker room, there's going to be so many different things that come up that are going to piss somebody off. I'm better than him. I'm better than her. I should be playing. I'm showing it in practice. I get in the games. There's favoritism. That happens, and that doesn't have anything to do with money. Nothing to do with money. I don't like the way they looked at me. I don't like this. I don't like that. Whatever the case may be, there's going to be dissension in a locker room. And it doesn't have anything to do with money. Okay? So let's not act like every locker room is just a bed of roses, because that's not how it works. That's not real life. That's not reality. So you throw some money in there, yeah, there's going to be some dissension. But so there's also dissension, guess where? At your job. Somebody gets paid more for doing the exact same thing you do. Somebody got promoted that wasn't as good as you. It happens. We can't deal with everyday situations like the world is coming to an end and we have to shut down everything or everything is bad because you got mistreated. Something egregious happened to you. Guess what? You're not the only one. And when you look at this NIL stuff, it's good. And I know what people say. Oh, the big schools, Texas has always had the most money. Texas, Ohio State, Tennessee, Georgia, all of those schools have always had the most money. Nothing changed. And I don't want to bash and beat up on Texas, but Texas has always had the most money. In the last 15 years, how's that helped them? I mean, seriously, how's that helped Texas in the last 15 years? They've had the most money. They get the pick of the litter from the state of Texas, which I don't care. Look, I've lived here for 12 years. Texas got the best high school football anywhere in the country. I know Florida's out there, and Florida has tons of athletes, but when it comes to overall programs and conditioning and everything, coaching and everything that goes into a high school program, it's Texas. Stop the nonsense. And Texas has the pick of the litter. How's that helped them the last 15 years? How's that helped A&M the last 50 years? I mean, come on, man. What are we talking about? So it's not always about the most money because, again, those programs have had the most money. You've got to get a good coach. You've got to get the right players. You've got to do all that. You got to get the right assistants. You got to have the right athletic director. You have to have a family. You got to have all these things. It's not just who has the most money. Is it sometimes? Yeah, it is. But you know what else happens in life? You don't always have the most money. But somehow you can make a life work. You can be happy in life. Why can't the same thing be true for college athletics? And again, I know we're talking about college football, but the bottom line is NIL is fine. It is fine. I hate to break it to you. It's fine. Should there be a little tweaks here and there? Of course there should be. There's tweaks everywhere. I mean, if you go out and you buy a Mercedes, a brand new Mercedes today, well, why doesn't Mercedes just build the same car forever? Why? Because they need to keep improving, because everybody else is improving. NIL is the same thing. Does it need to be tweaked? Of course it does. Again, like I said, I think the NCAA just threw their hands up with the transfer portal and NIL and just said, you guys figure it out. You've been beating our heads in forever, which they should have been beating your heads in forever because you took advantage of everybody for far too long. But they just threw their hands up. They could get involved if they wanted to and make this right. They could. But they're so scared that everybody's going to break away from the NCAA that they're not going to do anything But sooner or later, schools, presidents, everybody's going to say, look, let's work together and make this right. Maybe not happen this year, may not happen next year, but give it 5, 10 years. It'll get fixed. Things will get fixed. So the state of college football is crazy. But settle down, because here's the one thing that I know for an absolute fact. People are bitching about conference realignment. They're upset. People are bitching about the transfer portal. It's total chaos. People are bitching about NIL. Everybody goes to the highest bidder. There's no loyalty anymore. There wasn't loyalty before either, but that's a different conversation for a different day. So college football is just on its head until they kick the football off. Until the first ball is kicked off on the first game of the season. Once that happens, nobody's going to care. They're going to be just like me. I am a University of Louisville and a Kansas State diehard fan till I die. And as soon as they kick the ball off, all I'm going to do is turn into complete idiot fan mode and root for both of those teams no matter what. I don't care who they play. I don't care where they play. I don't care what conference they're in. As long as they got a chance, I want to win. That's it. That's it. And if people actually looked at this logically and just said, hey, this is all entertainment. I don't know what we're doing. Because that's all this is entertainment. It's tough for me, just like it is tough for a lot of fans to look at college sports as anything other than entertainment. But it is absolutely entertainment. So it's a business. It's always been a business. But because we're so passionate, we can't think of it as actual entertainment. Well, that's what it is. And I'm going to root like crazy when they kick that ball off. I know you guys are going to root like crazy when they kick that ball off. The bottom line is, man, we just got to just grin, bear it, understand what all this is about. It's about the money. It's always been about the money. And just keep rooting for your team, people. Just keep rooting for your team. Bottom line. Thank you guys, man. I appreciate it for tuning in. Again, as always, like, follow, subscribe. But like I said earlier, more importantly, tell your friend about it and tell them to do the same. You guys have a good one.